Throughout their history, the Pittsburgh Steelers have built their roster one way, through the draft. The '70s dynasty was created from within, including the greatest draft class the NFL's ever seen, 1974 taking Swan, Lambert, Starworth, Webster, Shell. That philosophy is carried on through recent years. Ben Roethlisberger, the 11th pick of the 2004 draft, to today with players like Juju Smith-Schuster and TJ Watt. But like any franchise, their track record is far from perfect. They've had their share of misses, prospects who never panned out. That's what this series is about, highlighting the biggest bust in Steelers history. It's not an effort to make fun of those players, but to revisit careers we've tried to forget and remember why they've never succeeded in the NFL. These days, the Steelers are well known for their ability to draft wide receivers. Plexico Burress, Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, all big hits under Kevin Colbert. But before Colbert, there was Troy Edwards. He was a star out of Louisiana Tech, one of the most dominant and productive receivers in college football. In 3 years, he caught 280 passes for over 4,300 yards and 50 touchdowns, including a whopping 27 in 1998. He still holds the FBS record for single-game receiving yards, catching 21 passes for 405 yards in the 1998 loss to Nebraska. It was one of the most dominant performances in college football history.
As our offensive player of the game is Troy Edwards. 405 yards receiving. That is a new NCAA record.
When it came to the 1999 draft, most analysts believed the Steelers, starved for big playability, were targeting a receiver. Many mock drafts had the team selecting Ohio State's David Boston at 13. He went 8th to the Cardinals, and in a relatively weak wide receiver class, Pittsburgh reached for Edwards. DraftNix projected him to go late in the first round if he won at all, but GM Tim Donahoe grabbed him with the 13th pick. Honestly, though, his rookie year wasn't a bad one. He played in all 16 games, tying Hines Ward for a team-high 61 receptions and owning the lead in yards with 714. Edwards didn't have a single standout game, but was consistently productive. He caught 5 touchdowns his rookie year, like this one against the Tennessee Titans.
Titans, they're 4-0 at home, one of 3 teams going to the weekend still undefeated at home. Cordell Stewart with his team down 7-0, scrambles. This is a nice play. Finds Troy Edwards in the end zone, and look at Edwards. And the dunk is good, too.
After Bill Cowher won a power struggle with Donahoe, Kevin Colbert took over as Steelers GM in 2000. He selected Plexico Burress with the 8th pick of his first draft, immediately pushing Edwards down the depth chart. His numbers tanked that year, recording just 18 receptions and no touchdowns. Edwards put anger and frustration aside for 2001, attempting to enter the season with a more positive attitude, telling the Post-Gazette, quote, "I've grown up. Getting upset and getting mad about it, that's how I ended up with 18 catches last year. And I think that's pitiful. I've been in games before where I've had more than 18 catches in one game." Still, the production wasn't there. Burress and Ward took over as the team's top 2 targets, and Edwards' regular season success only slightly better 2000. In 2001, he caught 19 passes for 283 yards, and for the second straight year, he failed to find the end zone. Only once did he top 50 yards in a game, a 57-yard catch versus the Titans that came dangerously close to a 99-yard score. The Steelers attempted to get him more involved on special teams, returning kicks and punts while serving as a gunner on the punt team, but that created Edwards' biggest blunder. Early in the 2001 AFC Championship game versus New England, Edwards was flagged for stepping out of bounds on a punt. That negated a 64-yard boot by Josh Miller.
Pittsburgh, number 81, went out of bounds without being pushed out of bounds, which is a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 4th down.
Yes, it is. Troy Edwards, number 81, on the outside. He runs outside, out of bounds, not pushed by Terrell Buckley, and he didn't get back in quick enough either, probably, but you're allowed to go out of bounds if you get pushed.
On the re-kick, Troy Brown took the ball 55 yards to the house, giving the Patriots a lead they wouldn't relinquish. The Steelers went on to lose 24-17, the Pats won their first Super Bowl, and the Brady-Belichick dynasty began. Pittsburgh carried Edwards into their 2002 camp, but buried on the depth chart and seeing the writing on the wall, he requested a trade, and he made his feelings for the team known, even calling out Hines Ward late in the preseason. Colbert dealt him to the Rams for a 6th-round pick. He spent a year there, catching just 18 passes and 2 touchdowns, before moving on to Jacksonville for 2003 and 2004, where he found moderate NFL success. In 2 years with the Jags, he caught 85 passes for over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. He spent 1 more year in Detroit, appearing in 3 games and catching 2 passes, before ending his NFL career. In a 2016 interview with Ron Lippock, Edwards would blame his NFL struggles on being a raw receiver who had to learn the position in the NFL, citing his rebellious nature for not absorbing the knowledge offered by those around him. Edwards wasn't a terrible receiver. Watching these clips reminded me of that. Certainly more productive than the players we've highlighted so far. A combination of factors worked against him. His own attitude, a new GM, the reality that it's hard for many college receivers to make the jump to the more physical, nuanced pro game. He's a classic case of a team reaching for need, overdrafting, and creating too high expectations for a player.